Alright guys, well thanks for joining me today. My name is Jesse Sprague from CAD Dimensions, and today we're going to be going over SOLIDWORKS costing and CAMWorks and how that can help the average manufacturing facility improve speed, turnaround, things like that in terms of quoting and getting things out the door. So need for speed is kind of the topic for today's webinar. So where we're going here, we'll take a look at the pain points of the process, and then I'll do a quick overview of what costing is, what CAMWorks is, and then we'll talk about how I think those two can fit together to make a great solution or a great pair in getting things, like I said, in and shipped out the door as quick as possible. So my first question is, how do you guys estimate price? From what I've seen, it kind of comes down to a couple of different scenarios. The first one, make a guess. Now this is a little bit exaggerated. Usually it's not a complete guess in the dark. It's usually based on something. You've got some Excel sheets or something like that that you've got listed out based on obviously your material price. But somewhere in the estimate is an estimation, right? That's kind of the nature of the game. You're making a guess of some sort. The other option that I've seen quite a bit is find the old guy, right? You know who I'm talking about. He's out on the floor. He's as old as the hills, and he's been doing this forever. You bring the part out to him. He wipes the oil off of his hands. He looks it over, scratches his head a couple times, and says, well, I think that'll be about $46. So you go back, email the customer and say, yeah, it's going to be $46. Now, in reality, I think from what I've seen, again, that most of the time it's actually a combination of kind of those two things that goes into the price that you'll end up giving back to the customer. Obviously, I've kind of cartoon exaggerated those on both sides of the scenario, but it usually is some combination of experience. We've been doing this a while. This should cost roughly this amount of money, and some kind of guesswork, right? Now that usually leads to some information that's written down somewhere. A lot of times it's in an Excel sheet or something like that, but that's your company's knowledge base of, you know, we've been doing this for X amount of years. This is kind of what we use as a guideline to help us price things out. Now, typically that is a pretty good system. However, the only thing that it's missing is that it's really not connected to the engineering side of things. A lot of customers these days, and hopefully you guys are as well, using SOLIDWORKS as your design tool, and you can take that and integrate those things and build those into your knowledge base. So rather than doing manual entries for everything that you come out with, or running through a printed list sometimes to say, okay, well, with this and this costs this much, this costs this much, peck them all out on the calculator, and this comes out to be this amount of money that we'll charge the customer. I think these tools that we're going to be talking about today can integrate all of these things together and give us a more automated result that will still leave you with a knowledge base, but again, a more automated kind of thing where we can run through and have the system do more of the work for us rather than us having to do all of this manual kind of work. So it's time to automate the process. And again, we're going to be doing that today through two tools, SOLIDWORKS Costing and CAMWorks. Now let's talk about CAMWorks real quick, and then we'll do an overview of costing as well. CAMWorks is a third-party software. It is a geometric product. A lot of you guys have actually had some experience with geometric products. Some of the code is used in the background in certain tools in SOLIDWORKS and things like that. So CAMWorks is a third-party software. It is a gold partner, one of the first gold partners. It integrates very well with SOLIDWORKS. So you'll see the CAM solution running right within SOLIDWORKS. One of the nice things with CAMWorks, it is designed for use with SOLIDWORKS. So if you buy CAMWorks on its own, it actually will come with an OEM seat of SOLIDWORKS. So it is designed to work within the SOLIDWORKS environment. And basically what that allows you to do is convert your SOLIDWORKS into a powerful CAM solution rather than having to have two separate systems. Now it is a fully featured CAM solution. So I usually show this real quick just to show some of the capabilities of CAMWorks. It's standard things like 2.5 axis, 3-axis milling, but you can go up through 4 and 5 axis milling. We do have high performance tool paths, things like the volume mill. turning, wire EDM, mill turn. So it is a package where if you were to start off with this package, even on a small scale, you can expand and not have to relearn a different package once you need to get into something more complex, which I like about CAMWorks. Some of the benefits of using CAMWorks, according to yours truly, is that you've got a powerful CAM and modeling package all rolled together. And I think that is one of my favorite things about using CAMWorks is that I've got those two systems as essentially one system. I don't have to export, import, or worry about any translator in between. So what that means for me is that more projects are possible. You've got that those two systems together. You've got a really powerful modeler that is the modeler for your CAM package, and you've got a really powerful CAM package that is part of your modeling. So it's a perfect combination there. It is a very efficient system. SOLIDWORKS is, I think, in my opinion, the most efficient modeling tool. Certainly more so compared to any of the CAM modeling tools out there, but even CAD solutions. And CAMWorks, I think, is the same way. Like I said, there is intelligence that can be built into these things. So that means your projects can get done faster using two efficient tools that are rolled into one. Now, both of these are also very customizable, and that kind of comes back to what I mentioned with being able to save this intelligence and come back to it for a future time. So that means that your projects can get done your way because you can build your company's intelligence into both of these tools, not just CAMWorks, but also costing. Now, costing is a SOLIDWORKS application, so it's not a third-party add-in. It runs right within SOLIDWORKS. So if you've got SOLIDWORKS Pro or Premium, you have access to costing already. And we'll explore that in a second as to where you would find that. But that is a tool that is right directly within SOLIDWORKS. And costing is a cost estimation tool. Now, that plays out in a couple of different scenarios, I think. I see two potential purposes for this. You can have designers running what ifs. So this would be a scenario where you have someone designing through multiple iterations. They can use this costing tool as a gauge, if you will, for what is this going to cost. Now, often when I'm going to do something like this, I'll actually move away from the template-based system that costing typically uses and just go by something like volume, which we'll take a look at again as we take a peek at this in a little bit. But if you're going towards the manufacturing side, the second bullet on this list, you can also get very good accuracy out of this, like I said, by building in those bits of information that you've gained from that experience. So you can build that information in, and again, it will be able to predict that the next time you run something through this system. Now, costing can handle a bunch of different scenarios. Of course, we can do machining. This will include things like the setup time. You can do milling operations, drilling operations, turning type things, OD, ID facing, custom operations you can add in as well. So things like anodizing, painting, heat treating, things like that, that would be post-process, whether you send those out or do those in-house. We can also calculate costs for casted parts, molded things, sheet metal, weldments, 3D printed even components. You can estimate costs for those. Relatively new to costing is also for assemblies, that we can create a cost for the entire assembly, including assembly costs and things like that, pulling in information from the individual parts costed results. So there's a wide range of things that you can analyze using costing in SOLIDWORKS, and like I said, now combine that even if you wanted to into a full assembly. From there, you can run reports, and you can save that information or send that information out, share as much or as little of that information you need to with the final customer. All right, so with that, I'm going to hop into a video here that I've got kind of showing a simple process as to how this might work in the workflow. Okay, so here's the scenario. I've gotten an email from Franco, and he's looking for some information for a quote. And he says, great job on the last batch of parts. Franco's no dummy. He knows he's got to butter me up if he wants to get his discount. Got another part for you to look at, yada, yada. Time could be a factor. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll open up this part and we'll see what it is that he's trying to get to. All right, so here's the part. So we've got at this point to try to figure out what this is going to cost us to machine and get back to Franco. And again, usually first things first, we'll take a look, at least I will take a look around the part, just try to get an eyeball of it. This part looks pretty easy. Looks like we've only really got one mill part set up to worry about. I don't see any features along the side, so it looks like everything can pretty much be machined along the top, so that's a good start. We know that should be a pretty easy machining process, depending on what we've got to do to clean up the sides and back, but not too much work in multiple directions, so that's good. Now what I'll do here is I'll use a combination of course, costing and CAMWorks to try to figure out what's going to be the best approach or the best price to give back to Franco. Now, I have my SOLIDWORKS already set on the Evaluate tab. That's typically where I'll turn on the costing tool. You can also access it under Tools in the SOLIDWORKS applications. You'll find costing listed from within here as well. I like the Evaluate toolbar. I usually have this turned on. If you don't have this turned on, just right click on any one of the tabs up there and you can turn on or off different tabs out of your command manager. Evaluate will be one of them, so if that's checked off, you can check that on. There's all sorts of good stuff on this toolbar, but costing happens to be the one that we're looking for at the moment. So I'll start with costing and then we'll move over to CAMWorks. Now, as soon as I launch costing, you can see that this gives me a preview of what the stock is going to be. Much like when we go into CAMWorks, if you're familiar with CAMWorks, you'll see that happening as well. You can see that you can drag the stock if you have a larger piece of stock that you're working from, so you can adjust for that. In this case, it's just gone with kind of the bounding box of the component. And off to my right hand side, you can see on the pane here we have the costing running, as well as the tab running over here alongside giving us our actual cost breakdown. So costing will kind of split the screen and it will give you some information on both sides. I do have my CAMWorks add-in turned on as well, so you see the CAMWorks tabs here listed. Now, the way that costing actually works is typically template based, at least if you're going for accuracy. So at the top, you'll see the method is picked up as machining. That's accurate for this case, but I can choose from different methods. Again, this is a machining, so I'll leave it right on machining. And underneath that, you'll see what template it is we're actually using. So this is where you can store multiple templates, you can create multiple templates, and you can leave that list of information right there. So right now I'm using just one of the default templates here, this default standard. I'll leave it on that for just a moment. If you do want to make changes to your template kind of on the fly, they have added this nice little launch template editor, and that will get you into the templates. We'll go poking around there in just a moment. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'll just set this material, say we're going with an aluminum or something like that, and we'll begin the cost estimate. You can override costs here as you go, material costs. So if you are getting from different suppliers or something like that, you can adjust for that as well. And as we scroll down through here, you can see there are some additional scaling factors. You can adjust your shop rate, markups, or anything like that. But all the way to the bottom, it's given us an estimate, and it's saying that it's going to cost us this much to run this part. All right, so it's what it's done is in the background, it's gone through looking for all of the features that we have here, much like CAMWorks does with extract machinable features, which we'll take a look at in a moment. It's gone looking for different features that it's got to machine in this case, and it's run that through the template. Now, if we look over to the left-hand side, you can see it knows that it needs some setup costs, right, to get this into the mill. And these are all things that we can tweak or customize. So we've got setup cost here. If I want to override this with a different cost, maybe I'm running it on a different machine and I want to just switch that on the fly, or this doesn't seem accurate to me, I can either go back and change my template, or I can apply an override right on the fly from within here. Now you'll see the milling operations listed out underneath that. You can see basically a cost per operation type of thing. So it's breaking down by pocket. This is what it's going to cost you to machine these pockets. Okay, all based on the template, of course. One of the things that I like with costing is at the top, it gives us a little toggle so we can see that this is what the template is calculating it's going to cost us. We can also view by a runtime as well, so we can see a breakdown per feature or just a total for those operations. So we've got the milling and the drilling operations listed out here, taking about an hour. All right, we'll go back when we go into CAMWorks and we'll run this through the machining and see what this actually comes out to be. I'm curious how close these two will end up. Of course, I've got my templates for costing set to the defaults, and my material estimating database in CAMWorks is also set to the default. So I'll be curious to see how these two numbers compare. Now, if we do need to add some custom operations, we can do that on the fly here as well. So if you want to add some operation, if this does need to be processed after the fact, something that you would, even if you're doing it in-house or sending it out, maybe a plating operation or painting or something like that, you can add in those costs right from within this, and I will just start stacking those up in the tree, and you can add that cost up. Now, as we saw earlier, Franco is a repeat customer, and I mentioned that he buttered me up for his discount. So I actually have a template up here that I have set for CAD Dimensions. So anytime I see a part come in from CAD Dimensions that needs to be made for CAD Dimensions, I can select my template specific for them. I can toggle that over, and we see that will recalculate this and give me a price based on the discount that I will typically give them. Now, in this case, all I've really changed between these two templates, I've just kind of applied a price override, so a default discount to this customer. But again, the convenience of this is you can kind of set those things in, and you can kind of compare prices. So if you have customers that you're dealing with on a regular basis, which most people do, you can just save a template for that. So let's go into the template editor and see what kind of things I've done here, or what kind of things we can do. All the way up to the top left, you'll find an option for the costing options. It's a little bit hidden, but it's this little button here that's the costing icon with a little gear on it. So if we select that icon, you'll see the costing options pop up, and here's where you can set your defaults. So for different types, you can set what you want to be applied when it picks up those types of things. So sheet metal, we're using the this type of default. Likewise, with templates, we can say, here are the templates that I want you to use every time you come in. Now, again, I'm just using costing default templates here. So you see these are the standard defaults, but you could set these to, your shop, create your shop default, whatever it is, your kind of baseline pricing for any of these different operations, set that as your default, and then again you can adjust that on the fly. If you want to run a template for a different customer, you can just toggle that over and have that recalculate the price for that particular customer based on what rates you give them. Okay, so clicking down through here, you can see you can set all of your defaults, and again, this is just building in that intelligence. All of these tools, there's that little bit of investment. As you set that thing up once, it will keep working for you the next time you go to use it. It's one of the benefits that I always call out with CAMWorks is that you can save your information back, and costing is exactly the same way. Save that information back once, and then the next time you go to do it, it's already done for you. You're just benefiting from that over and over again. So whatever materials you work for, default or stock type, however you want that to be defined by the defaults, you can set all that types of information. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier in the presentation is that you could switch this over and kind of use this as more of a rough estimate tool as well. If you didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty of setting up your templates and getting all that really dialed in, one of the things that you can do is use this instead of those templates, use some kind of cost per volume removed. So you can make some estimations as, all right, well, when I'm roughing material, it costs me such and such an amount, or when I'm finishing. So you can give this some kind of estimate that says per volume of material removed, and then when costing runs through this, it'll say, all right, you've got to remove this much material. It's going to cost you roughly this amount. So obviously this will be less accurate than if you're running with a template kind of system. But what this will allow you to do is use this maybe for your designers, right? So as the designers are going through, they may not be the end machiners or machinists, or the the people who are even doing the quoting, but maybe for internal parts, or if you're doing any of the actual design, they can use this as kind of a quick and dirty estimate. If you can figure some of these numbers, how much is this going to cost us roughly? Okay, what if we do it in this configuration? How about this configuration? And you can kind of use this. Now, I like to use this kind of thing in combination with simulation, right? You can go back and forth and have the designers working with costing and simulation kind of side by side. So you can see, what your factor of safety versus cost sort of thing would be. And even if they're relatively rough estimates, if they're somewhat accurate for comparative purposes, it's ideal. So I don't think this tool is exclusive to people who would be quoting or anything like that. Even if you don't want the hassle of setting up the templates and getting those dialed in, you can still make pretty good use of it. Okay, so let's switch over to CAMWorks and see what CAMWorks has to say. Like I said, I'm kind of curious to see what the time is going to come out to be. And so what I'll do is I'll switch over to my CAMWorks. Now again, I'm running this all within SOLIDWORKS. One of the main benefits that I see of most of the SOLIDWORKS tools is that everything is all under the same umbrella. I could be the same designer who made this part as to the guy who runs the cost analysis, runs the simulation, runs the machining operations. I'm doing this all in one environment, and even if it is separate people from within the company, they're all working in the same type of environment, so they're all getting the same experience. Now from my CAMWorks tree here, I'll just jump over to my CAMWorks tools, and in this case we've got a pretty simple part, so I think extract machinable features should do a pretty good job on this type of thing. But again, I typically run extract machinable features on pretty much everything anyway, because it does do a good job. So it's found the features, so I'll go ahead and generate my operation plan. And that generates my operations. We'll run the toolpaths on here and see what we turned up with. Just run a quick simulation. And that did do a pretty good job. Okay, so maybe I'll go back and clean up a couple things, but we'll say for what we're doing with it, I think this will work fine. So extract machinable features has done a pretty good job in this case. And like I said, I'm kind of curious to see what the comparative time is. So let's take a look in the parameters here. So we've got a total time here without my tool changes of, wow, that's darn near close. 56 minutes versus, well, we were somewhere around an hour on the other one. So these actually came out pretty close. And again, I'm just running kind of with defaults in terms of my estimating database for CAMWorks, as well as the default templates. Like I said, my templates hadn't changed. I really just changed the price override there for the discount for CAD Dimensions, but the time came out pretty close. So that's kind of interesting to see how close those two did end up. And again, like I said, these are both systems where the more you use them, the more you can build that intelligence back into them. And the next time you run something through this, it'll be smarter than the last time it was. So you can really get these things dialed in to a point where you can gain a lot of confidence in kind of comparing the two. And especially, even if I wasn't the guy who was going to be machining this finally, I can kind of get an idea by running through this, at least in this case, that where I'm in the right ballpark. I'm on the right track. So like I said, I think this is a great way to get things dialed in very quickly. Again, watch me run through it. Even with default templates, if you even wanted to, even if this was way off and you wanted to go in here and tweak a couple things that looked inaccurate, you still have a very, very quick result to getting to an approximation, if nothing else, or a fairly accurate number. Like I said, the more you dial this in and gain confidence in this, to a nearly machine part. Actually, I mean, we're most of the way here. If I clean this up a little bit, we had some maybe cleanup down here and whatnot, but it's almost ready to ship out the G code to the machine. So within a couple of minutes, again, simple example, but within a couple of minutes, I've been yapping away here. We've got an idea of what this is going to cost us to machine, and we're darn ready to get going whenever the machine is available. So I don't think there is a faster way to bring something into a company, get an idea of what it's going to cost you to machine on a very accurate scale, and get ready to actually produce that part than running it through these couple of tools from within SOLIDWORKS. So in summary, why do we bother with a system like this? Well, it's taking the experience that we already have, all of that knowledge that we've already gained over the years, and it allows us to keep it. However, it takes some of the guesswork out of the system, and it replaces that with an exact model. We can take that model, we can run it in, we're going to get the same result every time. So our predictions should be much more accurate and much more consistent. And again, the nice thing with this system is that you can add it as an additional piece to the knowledge base that you already have. So you can keep this existing knowledge base, you're just adding in more information and hopefully updating even the knowledge that you have by running this through costing, CAMWorks, through SOLIDWORKS. And again, storing information in those two tools by saving that information back to the technology database in CAMWorks and into the templates in costing for more accurate future predictions, but you're also increasing your knowledge, hopefully, as you run through these scenarios and gain more information. So both are tools that learn with you as you go and still allows you to build in the knowledge that you've already gained throughout the years. So again, hopefully this will lead to more confidence in your quotes, that they are accurate, they're consistent. Each time you send something out, it should be the same. And again, if you want to adjust per customer, you can do that, but you know that you should be getting the same result every time you run through a situation that fits the templates you've created. You should have a faster quote response because you can bring this in. You don't have to go scanning through pages and pages of existing data or trying to estimate with guys on the floor. You can run this through that system, and within a couple of seconds, you can get a response back from the software as to what the system calculates your cost should be. And again, you should have faster turnaround time. As you saw in the video slide there, within a few minutes, I had a part pulled in, ran through costing. Even if we had to make some adjustments along the way, we're pretty much ready to go. Within a couple of minutes, we can be tooled up to make those parts should we need to. So at this point, if you guys have any questions, I hope you enjoyed the session today. If you have any questions, you can type those in the chat, and I will be on here to reply to those. And as always, if you think of something after the fact, you can, of course, give us a call at any of the CAD Dimensions offices, and we'd be happy to help you out. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and have a great day. Hi guys, I realized after we finished up that I got distracted and I went into the costing options, but I didn't go back and actually launch the template editor to show you guys what kind of stuff you can set in there. So let's go into the template editor. And in here we'll kind of explore a little bit just so you guys can see what kind of things you can actually set. So again, in general, you've just got shop rate and things like that. Here's the total cost. So I was talking about how I was, if CAD Dimensions was my fictitious customer, I would give them a discount. I just applied a full override of 15% off as if that's what I would give that particular customer. But of course, in actually calculating the price that costing comes up with before it gives any kind of discount or markup, that would be done through the material and operations kind of thing. So you can see these are the types of parts that we can set through costing. So machining, you can go by material type, what type of material, and you can see those set in there based on their thickness, their costs associated with those. So down through plastics for molding and casting, 3D printing. Now, as far as customizing this to your shop, of course you can customize these numbers, but the type of machine, this might be more This might be one of the first places I would go to start making some customization. So you can see in machines, you can create machines from within here, and you can associate what kind of costs it costs you to run that particular machine, per hour. Labor costs, we saw that it would add in some setup time for that machine. So if you have multiple machines that you might run it on, you can adjust for that. All right, if I've got a Haas VF2 or whatever, you can type that in, and then you can say, yeah, this is a mill machine. It cost me whatever to run that particular machine. And again, different types of defaults from within here. You can see the list goes down to the different types of operations that are supported by costing. Now underneath that, we have the particular operations as to what these are going to cost us to put in. So this is associated with what it picks up as it goes through looking through the part, and you see those are the categories that it will pick up and say, these costs for these particular features. So through here we can set the costs per feature, and again, something standard like a milling operation or something like that. Again, you can see you can go pretty good amount of detail as to what this is going to cost, and that kind of compares with the machining time kind of thing as to what this is going to take based on what type of finish. Is it the roughing finishing pass? What's it going to take to machine that part, in this case mill that part, or that feature, excuse me. Again, so just clicking through here. So there's a lot of data already in here. And again, I think this is what kind of scares people away from using costing. It's like, man, there's a ton of stuff in here. How do I know if it's accurate? And I think it's one of those things where you just take it a bit at a time. You run it alongside with your quoting process already, see how costing compares, and then just start tweaking things a little bit as you go. This costs, realistically, this is what this costs, and this is what costing is saying, so I'll tweak this. And then as you keep working with it, building that intelligence into it, the closer it gets to your actual cost. One thing they did add with 2016 is rules-based costing, which is pretty neat. So if you have something where it's, I always have, every time I do steel, I always send it out for this post-processing operation. So if the part comes in as steel material, then it goes out and those ones get painted or whatever the case is. You can do that on rules, so you can build in those little mundane things that you're always adding in. You can just automate that process as well. So that's what the template editor looks like, and if you want to go in there and start customizing it to what you guys use. Another thing I forgot to mention was the report, which I had a question on afterwards. Let me just publish a report here, just so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. So this will kind of compile all of the information that we've built into this, and it will ship this out as a Word document that we can either send or keep for records. Okay, so here's the report that you would get after running a costing analysis. So weight, material cost per rate, what your shop rate. So similar to something that you would get out of a simulation report or something like that, you will get a breakdown by operation. Total, you have your setup costs here, estimated time, and then a list of operations to set for. Okay, now this does apply to cost for parts as well as assembly costing in 2016 as well. All right, so I hope that cleared things up a little bit for you guys, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and our blog for more great content by clicking on the links in the description below.